and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight.
Hello everyone and welcome back to ProRevenge. Before we start, please scroll down and click like and subscribe. This means that you will get more videos from me. Please like and subscribe and it will make my day. Thanks. Whoops. Note, I learned about the effects of what I'd done from other students years later. In the mid 1980s, I was working on a master's degree at my hometown, third tier university. The university decided it would finance its new computer science department by making one 3-hour course of computerizing mandatory for most degree plans. There weren't enough instructors to teach even minimal skills, like basic. I passed the classroom portion of the course by showing the instructor how to score her own test. The lab portion of the course required students to write a program in BASIC and upload it at a station in the computer lab. They then had to wait for their program to be executed and get the result on paper, which had to be turned in by the last class day. There were far too few stations and even fewer printers to serve the students who needed a computer course credit. Lines, multi-hour waits, yelling and scuffles were some of the results. I was 10 years older than most other students, and my experience taught me to go to an early morning Sunday lab session because many students went to church or slept in. I was right to a point. The line was long, but not ridiculously long, and the sign-in sheet still had blank spaces, giving hope of a relatively short wait. The waiting room, as always, was a cacophony of bad 80s music and talking loudly in a cloud of cigarette smoke. So I asked the Comp C student in charge of the lab if I could park a chair by his desk in the hallway and read until my name was called. He said sure. Evidently, a shift change happened because a different student took over and very curtly told me to sit elsewhere, which began the following interaction. "I'm just sitting here reading quietly." The other guy said it was okay. "Well, it's not okay with me. I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree." "No, we won't. I'm the assigned manager of the lab room, and I say get up and move away." "Yeah, well, I'm a grad student waiting to upload my final exam program so I can pass a dumb computer science class and get my degree, so I'm not moving." He gave me a nasty look, walked off with a stick up his butt, and I resumed reading. Turns out he went and got the professor on duty, who was also head of the computer department. He proceeded to lay into me, shouting about the sacrifices made by the student volunteers and how dare I abuse one of them. I said again that I'm just sitting here reading a book and I didn't abuse anyone. He told me to get up right now and move away or I was barred for life from the computer lab, which meant I couldn't get my degree. Realizing I was trapped, I said fine, if it's that important, I'll move. The little thing gave me a fuck you grin and I went into the waiting room. In the classroom portion of the course, I was seated next to a guy who was freaking out because he didn't understand the material at all. I told him it wasn't so hard, just basic computer language. He asked me to look at his work to see if he was doing it right and gave me the password to access his files. A week later he dropped the class, but I still had his password. After I was assigned a computer station to upload my final exam, it occurred to me to log out when I was done and then try to log back in with my vanished classmate's password. I got in with no problem and so decided I'd give the computer department a parting gift. I waited a few minutes, wrote a 2-line program, and uploaded it to be executed. 10. Print the computer department is a disgrace. 20. Go to 10. An endless loop I hoped would cause paper to spew out of the printer until they turned it off. That's not what happened. The old computer used for the lab executed the program and attempted to store the results in its memory to wait for its place in the queue to be printed. Since my program never ended and their security was apparently nil, the old computer filled all its memory banks with the results of my program, then hopped over to the VAX, the real computer, across the hall, ensconced in a locked, glassed-in room, and started to fill all its memory banks too. Like in a movie, a guy inside the glass room was 1 second too late to see the problem and sever the connection before the VAX crashed. The destruction turned out to be epic. Anything in dynamic memory at the time of the crash was lost. Term papers, dissertations, programs being executed, etc. gone. They weren't able by themselves to figure out how to clear the memory and reboot the machine. and had to get help from the manufacturer. The manufacturer pointedly told the head of the department that he had no security whatever, and that's why a simple endless loop uploaded in-house could cause such damage. They didn't look too hard for the culprit after that, but mutual suspicion grew among the Camp C students. There was much rancor and dissatisfaction among staff and students, and the entire system was made much more difficult to operate, for security's sake. Don't mess with this man's parking spot. For a little bit of context, the year is 1979 and Chicago is having a terrible snowstorm, 10-degree weather, snow reaching 3 feet, planes grounded until further notice, and 5 fatalities somehow. My grandfather told me this story when I was younger, but I still think I have most of the details. My grandparents and my dad live next to a man we'll call Joe. Joe is a very nice man. He looks out for the neighborhood and is a generally all-around guy. Joe can also be a very determined guy sometimes. Think of him as fun, but at the same time, no nonsense. Joe has a daughter who is at a college in Indiana. At time they are having a winter break a little later due to the weather conditions. Naturally, Joe is very excited to see his daughter, so he immediately shovels a clear spot. It takes him a bit, since conditions are bad, but after an hour or two, he finally finishes. His daughter's not there yet, so he puts a chair with a reserved sign on it out on the spot and decides to go back inside to watch some golf. This man really loved golf. 2 hours later he goes outside to see if his daughter is home yet. To his surprise, he finds the chair on the sidewalk and man getting out of his car where he shoveled a spot. A little irate, Joe walks over to the man and a conversation like this happens. Joe: "Howdy sir, how are you doing today?" Man, glaring at Joe: "Good I guess." Joe: "That's good to hear. Would you mind moving your car please? My daughter is coming home soon and shoveled the spot specifically for her." Man: "Ugh, no, you should have marked it." Joe: "Sir, I did indeed mark it." Points to the chair. Man: "Well, too fucking bad, because I'm parked here now, so you can go fuck yourself, you hick." Joe is quite obviously shocked about the rudeness of the man. He is also upset by the fact that he was called a hick because he's indeed from Iowa and he does have a small accent. Joe: "Listen bud." Man: "You listen to me, this is my spot now." The man proceeds to walk away and Joe is absolutely stunned. His wife and my grandpa hear the arguing and come outside. Joe explains the situation and they both feel bad, but there's nothing they can do. Joe suddenly has an idea pop into his head. He tells my grandpa and my grandpa breaks into laughter. My grandfather goes back inside and tells my dad to come with him to the window. My grandfather and dad watch as a stone-faced Joe plugs his hose in and proceeds to spray water on every inch of the car. He looks like he is a man on a mission. After about 20 minutes Joe stops and goes back inside. 30 minutes later, Joe's daughter walks to her parents' house. She explains that she had to walk for 20 minutes due to the weather and average Chicago traffic. They have a nice dinner and watch TV together. 3 hours later, someone starts banging on the door. When I say banging, I mean 2 fists pounded as hard as they can. Joe opens the door and is greeted by the man from earlier. The man starts screaming, "What the fuck did you do to my car?" Joe just keeps denying the accusations, and he tells him that you just can't trust the weather these days. The man threatens to call the cops, but Joe has a trump card. The man has no evidence that it was Joe. He could have called the cops, but they aren't going to believe that a upstanding member of the community would somehow freeze a car. Joe was fairly well known in this neighborhood. I'm not 100% sure of the legality of this due to it being a story my grandfather told me, but I believe it. The man realizes that Joe is basically untouchable, so he walks away and calls for a tow truck. Joe has a smug look on his face as he walks back inside. Thank you all for watching to the end of the video, but before you go, please like and subscribe for more. Not many of you at all that watch are subscribed or like the video, and this makes me unsure if I should continue to make more content or not. So if you want more content, please like and subscribe. If you don't want to miss out on any future videos, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Also, please give me some feedback in the comment section about what I can do better, because not many people comment on my videos, so I have no idea of people's opinions of thoughts about this YouTube channel. So yeah, that's all from me. If you have subscribed and liked the video, please consider sharing the video with your friends. Thanks and bye. I'm still doing daily uploads, so hope to see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.